Welcome to another episode of Transmissions from the Outpost here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. Every once in a while, we throw up reviews of new movies, TV shows, video games. So if you'd like to hear our take on these sorts of pieces of media, hit that like and subscribe button down below. I want to talk just briefly about a film that I saw called Dust Bunny. So a little bit of backstory of how this sort of came to be. My fiance and I, we had to use a $5 reward at our local movie theater. Literally had no idea what was out. And she said, hey, I'm getting tickets for this thing called Dust Bunny. And she's like, have you ever heard of it? I was like, nope. Haven't heard of it at all. Don't know who's in it. Don't know what it is. She says, I haven't either, but we got to use something, and there's nothing in the theaters right now. So we rolled into our local theater and sat down for a movie in which we had no idea what to expect. And I will say, not to bury the lead, this movie was awesome. What's it about? There's a little girl named Aurora, and she's got some foster parents, and she believes that there is a dust bunny monster that's underneath her bed. And no one believes her, but her foster parents keep getting killed. She witnesses them being eaten by this dust bunny monster. We as an audience don't necessarily see what's going on, but she claims that there's a monster under her bed. She moves into this sort of apartment complex or something, and she notices that there's a guy across the hall. I think it is apartment 5B. A hitman, imagine like a John Wick style hitman, played by Mads Mikkelsen. Which I did not know he was in the movie. So when he popped up, I was like, wow. And one of the cool things about this is this review is like, go see movies that you know nothing about, because part of the magic of experiencing this film was seeing all these great people that would pop up in it that I had no idea were in it. And it just gave me a really cool emotional sort of like, this is awesome. Most movies we've seen a trailer, we know who's in it, we know something about the movie before we went in. This, we had no clue. My fiance she loved this movie as well. But basically, this little girl named Aurora, she she steals a bunch of money from church in order to try to hire this hitman played by Mads Mikkelsen. Now she snuck out to follow him one night, and she sees him like fighting this dragon in an alley, and so she believes that he kills monsters. And so she hires him to kill the monster underneath her bed because it keeps eating not only all of her foster parents, but she says it's trying to eat her and kill her. And she thinks he can protect her. Now, Mads Mikkelsen, from his point of view, he's like, I'm not a monster hunter. Now, we don't necessarily know as an audience whether that's true or not at the beginning of the movie. As the movie goes on, it's very clear Mads Mikkelsen is not a monster hunter in the traditional sense of monsters, but he is sort of like this John Wick style hitman who is going out killing people, and people are trying to kill him. And so you don't really know, is it just Aurora's like little girl imagination that's seeing these sorts of events play out, and we think that we as an audience think that, oh, she's just imagining that he's fighting a dragon in an alley, or is he actually doing it? All kinds of great cameos popped up here. Sigourney Weaver pops up as kind of like, well, I won't spoil who she is in the movie, but she's kind of like Mads Mikkelsen's, kind of like the Grief Karga of to Mads Mikkelsen, where he kind of shows up and she's kind of like giving him the lay of the land, hitman stuff. And Sigourney Weaver is awesome in this. She plays really quirky. It's a very strange kind of like. I don't even know how to describe it. It's not like a straight sort of acting sort of thing. She's got like weird looks on her face, and she has like strange movements and tics about her. But there's Hitman. I'll sort of sum it all up without spoiling too much, because I don't think that this movie should be spoiled. I think this is one of those films that people need to just go and experience. Ultimately, what happens is Mads Mikkelsen and this little girl, there's a big thing that happens at the very end, and we are left to sort of determine as viewers, like, okay, is this big finale going to be with an actual monster, or is it going to be with a bunch of hit people trying to kill Mads Mikkelsen and this little girl, and who's actually killing all of her foster parents and things of that nature? Again, I won't spoil what goes into it. I would highly recommend anybody listening to this go into this movie as blind as you possibly can, because this is a super imaginative movie. It's got a great style to it. I had no idea this was directed by Brian Fuller. Makes total sense because Mads Mikkelsen, of course, was in Hannibal, and Brian Fuller was the showrunner of Hannibal, which was an incredible television show. If you've never seen Hannibal, you need to stop what you're doing and go watch that, because that is in my top five of all time favorite TV shows. It's so good. In Hannibal, played by Mads Mikkelsen, I would argue, is the definitive Hannibal Lecter. Everybody says Anthony Hopkins. I get it. But after you watch the Hannibal TV show, I think your mind might be changed because he's so amazing as Hannibal Lecter in that. Um, yeah, I just loved how this thing was shot. Like I said, I had no idea Brian Fuller directed this, but all kinds of imaginative shots. It's mostly from the perspective of this little girl, and so my friend Rachel, when I was asking her about this in the Outpost Unknown chat room, she said it had a very sort of like magical quality, sort of in the sense that, when we were kids watching a horror movie. I will say that this is a horror movie. It's like a horror comedy action film. So, in the vein of something kind of like a Monster Squad, like a modern day retelling of kind of like a fantasy sort of thing. That's what this is. And I 100% agree with her. This kind of feels like that. It feels like something that you could show your 8 or 9 year old kid and they would have a lot of fun with it. There's not a whole lot of gore in this. David Dastmalchian shows up in a fun role. Everybody in this role, imagine like the John Wick universe, they hit people, but goofy and weird. The little girl is adorable in this. She's very sort of like, very straightforward. Like she knows, right? And at least in her mind, there's a monster under her bed and it's going to kill her. And just her interactions with Mads Mikkelsen in this are just spectacular. Like their chemistry is a wonderful thing to behold. If I had any complaints with the movie, I think it is a tad too long. I think that a lot of sort of like the buildup is great, but there's a portion in the middle of this movie where I'm like, okay, did we need all of this? There might be a few too many hitmen that just kind of show up at a few too many scenes that probably weren't 100% necessary. But ultimately, like that didn't bother me too much because just living with these characters and watching them interact with one another, even if the scenes didn't really sort of move the story forward, was enough. It was just fun to sort of live in this world, and just like I said, the imagination. This was super super cool. I can't recommend this enough. Like I said, I had no idea this movie even existed, let alone that it was in my local theater, and I have not heard anybody talking about this movie at all. I mean, this has to be, in my estimation, one of the best movies I've seen all year. So letter grade, our famous transmissions from the Outpost letter grade, I'm going to give this movie an A. I thought it was just fantastic. I thought it was weird and quirky, and the characters were just so dynamic. Sigourney Weaver's fantastic. The ultimate resolution to what is real, like what is actually going on in this movie. Like I said, I won't spoil it, but the resolution of like who's right, is it this little girl, is it Mads Mikkelsen, is it Sigourney Weaver, like all this, it's so good, and it just sort of ends on this really fantastic heartwarming note. And yeah, like I said, can't recommend Dust Bunny enough. So if it's in your local theater, if it's on stream, I don't even know if it's on streaming or anything, give this a watch. Throw some money at this, because this is the kind of movie that you want to pay for, and you want to show studios and the powers that be in Hollywood, and that these are the kind of stories that we want. give money to someone like Brian Fuller, who is problematic in his own ways, allegedly. I'll say allegedly. He's problematic, but he does make some great stuff. I always felt like really disappointed that Brian Fuller just gets fired from everything he's on, it seems. I think he was supposed to do the Friday the 13th television show. I think he got fired from that. He got fired after American Gods after one season. It just seems like he gets dropped. But he's a super, super inventive, talented individual. And I'm honestly shocked because this movie looks like quite a bit of money was spent. I don't know what the budget was. There's a couple scenes where she's kind of like, for example, the sequence when she follows Mads Mikkelsen in the alley, and he's fighting the dragon, and you see it's sort of like this Chinese dragon, and you see like all these fireworks going off as he's doing all of his crazy, John Wick style fighting moves on the dragon and stuff like that. Stuff like that, you can kind of see the CG shine through. It's a little CG heavy, but in other places it looks great. It looks fantastic, and so it was just amazing. I want to applaud the producers who decided to take this crazy idea from Brian Fuller and dump a bunch of money on him, and Brian Fuller actually getting it to completion without getting fired beforehand, because it's fantastic. So Dust Bunny, go check it out. One of my top films of the year. If I do a top 10 list this year like I did last year, this will definitely be high up there. Can't get enough of it. Love it. Hit that like and subscribe. If you want more reviews, just let me know. Leave that engagement down there if you want more. I'm happy to jump on and review some more stuff for you guys. But coming up soon, I'll just throw a plug. Ronan and I are seeing Avatar Fire and Ash in 3D. We will have a review of that coming up on the channel. So hit that like and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Thanks.